I'm John Batchelor, Larry Kudlow, my colleague and co-host, and Bill Whalen of the Hoover Institution. Bill, we turn to the Republican Senate and who's going to pay. You have an excellent column at your blog, Day at the Races. I recommend to everybody. You can sign up and get it sent to you automatically from the Hoover Institution about a Democratic shakeup. 4 names. The first, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. What happens?
Debbie Wasserman Schultz is the chair of the Democratic National Committee, and she has Democrats just tired of her act. Some of it's very inside baseball. She has been using staffers for personal reasons. She tried to get the DNC to buy her a lot of wardrobe and things like that, things that just really hawk off Democrats. But she is just a lightning rod. She goes on television. She's not very good at messaging. You might remember the comment she had recently about Scott Walker, the governor of Wisconsin, saying he showed women the back of his hand. Not a good thing to be saying. If you watched her this past weekend on Fox News, going up against Rance Priebus, her best argument for the Democrats was the party has your back. I mean, it's just she's really, really bad at this job. And there's a bit of history here with party chairs. After the McGovern landslide in 1972, Jean Westwood, who was the chair of the DNC at the time, she got the boot. Back in 1964, after the Goldwater landslide, Dean Birch, who was the chairman of the Republican National Committee, he got tossed as well. So I suspect that she'd be very easy to chuck her out after the election.
Well, just the successor to Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Will it be a Clinton person or an Obama person?
Or maybe Bill Clinton. That's right.
That would be a little obvious, maybe Chelsea.
That's great.
Or maybe Misfitsky even. Look, I think as long as the president's the White House, it's still his pick, but it'll be just some sort of former governor or some party elder to sort of be a steward over the shop until after 2016.
Okay, party elder, that would be Harry Reid, who's a tough guy and has delivered for the Democrats these many years. So they show him the door. Is that his reward, Bill?
Well, it's if the Democrats are relegated to minority status, as Larry and I seem to think, then there will be internal pressure among Democrats to move Senator Reid aside, just because Senator Reid has also become a lightning rod in this election. If you go down in the South and look at TV ads, Harry Reid is to Democratic senators what Camilla Parker Bowles was to the Princess Di Prince Charles marriage. She is the third wheel, and he's just become bad news in that regard. If you're trying to rebuild the Democrats in the Senate up until 2016, when the road is much more favorable for them, it begins with the leader who's just better on television, isn't dour, isn't scorched earth as Harry Reid is. So it would make a lot of sense to move him aside.
I got it. I'm going to do this to you once more. Mm-hmm. Clinton person or Obama person? See, isn't Chuck Schumer? I know Durbin is the deputy, but Chuck Schumer, a total egomaniac, wants that job, and he is a big Hillary supporter.
Yeah, advice to Senator Durbin: if you are reelected, as I imagine you will be, hire somebody to drive your car and somebody to taste your food. Chuck Schumer is watching you.
Chuck Schumer also raises a lot of money, Larry.
He does.
And he would be a very effective leader because they're going to need cash.
But Larry is absolutely right, because in a small Democratic caucus of 45 or so senators looking for a new leader, Chuck Schumer would just do everything he could to supplant Durbin.
Yeah, I look for conspiracies everywhere.
Food taster, that's what you're recommending. All right, Nancy Pelosi. She is 10 years the leader of the Democrats of the House, whether in the majority or the minority. It is time for her to step aside. Does she believe that, Bill?
No, of course not. She still wants to be Speaker again, Pelosi, but here she is. She turned 75 in March. She has been at this for 10 years now in the leadership position. And if the Republicans gain, let's say 10 or 12 seats in the election, as it looks like it will be, now the Republicans are up in the 240s. That means you need 2 serious wave elections on the Democrats' part for her to get the speakership back. Right. And I've got a theory that as long as she is sitting there as the number 1 Democratic in the House, it's going to be awfully hard to do that. You go back to the spring and you go into the Florida 13th Congressional District where they held that special election, and Nancy Pelosi was the moving issue among independents. The RNC people will tell you this. They ran an ad which simply suggested that a vote for the Democrat was a vote to put Nancy Pelosi back in the speakership, and independents broke the Republicans' way. They hated the thought of that. So, again, if I'm the Democrats and I'm trying to build up my numbers in the House, I think having a different face of the party in the House.
What you're saying is, okay, if you give the GOP another 10 or 12 seats in the House, and all these Southern Democrats get knocked out in the Senate, the Democratic Party, Bill Whalen, is going to take 3 giant steps to the left. I mean, I always say that our mayor here, Bill de Blasio, whatever his name is, and Elizabeth Warren in Massachusetts are the leaders of the Sandinista wing of the Democratic Party. But the whole Democratic Party may be the Sandinista wing.
Well, it does. It sets up a real interesting dynamic in 2016 between Hillary Clinton running for president and essentially trying to tell voters that she is really no different from her husband in terms of paddle left and paddle right and a pragmatic centrist, and a frustrated minority party in Congress which wants to get back power and do crazy things again. So that'll be a very interesting tug of war between the two sides.
Finally, at the White House, not the Chief of Staff McDonough, he's number 25 of Chief of Staffs, but does Valerie Jarrett pay for this defeat?
She is the most obvious person to go, I think, simply for this reason. The first mistake that any White House can make, in my estimation, and the Obama White House did this, you never hire somebody and make them a minister without a portfolio. And that is, in essence, what she is in the White House. She roves from meeting to meeting, and she has an unfair advantage over all of the other aides in the White House in that she has a personal relationship with the President and the First Lady. She goes up into the residence at night, and who knows what she says about people behind their backs. This is just not a very positive person, and I think the other thing which she represents is, besides firing somebody in these circles, they need to hire somebody, and they need to hire, well, sort of what David Gergen was to Bill Clinton when Clinton got into trouble. Somebody's kind of a truth teller. Somebody's going to come in and stand in front of the president and say, you have a problem, sir. You have to do things differently, sir. It's not working. I suspect this president is really surrounded by enablers, people who tell him that he is the center of the universe, and when he breaks wind that it's Beethoven.
15 seconds, Larry. Does Valerie Jarrett go? Will he do that?
I don't know. The first lady and the first man apparently don't talk to each other, and she is the only source of communication. So, I don't know, she may be indispensable.
We thank Bill Whalen of the Hoover Institution, who returns to his San Francisco Giants. Larry Kudlow, CNBC and Kudlow Radio. I'm John Batchelor. Thank you, Larry.